Three, two, one. Welcome to the SaaS Pulse Show. My name is Michael Bertoni, and I'm the founder and CEO of SaaS Talent. And really unbelievably excited today. We have somebody here. We haven't had many people in partnerships, in channels, right? If you're a SaaS company, if you're listening to this right now and you're trying to grow a channel, if you're trying to grow partnerships within your platform, you gotta connect with this guy. Let me introduce the world to Francois Grenier. He is the head of platform partnerships at Thoropass. Thoropass is the only compliance and audit platform that provides compliance and audits in one unique package. So it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Michael, for having me. Excited.
Yeah, it's so awesome. What I always love to start with, if you look at all the other shows, is I love the superhero backstory, and you have a nice superhero look about you, right? We'll call you are you the good guy or the bad guy, right? So you got a nice little superhero. I love it. But tell me about your journey, right? So you have a very unique background in LinkedIn. And again, everybody listening to this right now, what I want you to do is go connect on LinkedIn with Francois Grenier, connect with him, right? And then, he says, oh, people are connecting with me. It's amazing. So connect with them out there, partnerships and channels. So tell everybody about your backstory. So what brought you to Thoropass, right? How did that journey happen? Start from wherever you want to where you are now.
Yeah. So I am a trained engineer. I have a master's in international business management as well. And I guess my career started with the perfect job to blend those two diplomas together. I studied as a pre-sales engineer for large infrastructure projects, working for a telecom equipment vendor, Alcatel at the time, which became Alcatel-Lucent, which is now part of Nokia. And we sold the infrastructure to mobile operators. The fun part of this is that I started this career in Southeast Asia to spice things up a little bit. So I've always been a bit of a traveler. I lived in Malaysia, in Thailand, in Australia for that company doing that job. Moved back to France for a few years, where I'm originally from, working for another company that is essentially one of the leaders in smart card manufacturers. And smart cards are basically credit cards and SIM cards with a chip on it. Mini computers on a plastic card, if you like, that are devices dedicated to security. So security has kind of always been in my professional DNA, I suppose. As a result, and as part of that job, I was responsible for the business development side, meaning the way ahead of the curve, like things that are going to become the technology of choice in the next 3 years, but not quite there yet. Right. And we were selling software platforms in a SaaS-ish type of model for OEMs and mobile operators. And you can think of, connected devices like smartwatches and whatnot that get on your LTE network with AT&T and Verizon. We started the underlying technology that allows you to download your operator SIM card into your device. So you had to bring the OEM and the carrier together. Nice. Fun stories about this, war stories I wouldn't mind sharing, but we would need to sit around a beer and spend a couple hours on this. Some of the stuff I'm not able to speak on record either about. You can imagine what I'm talking about here if you're a little imaginative, but think about tiptoeing in partnerships from a 3 year cycle type of thing. You start conversations, you involve companies and technologists that have no interest in working together, with one outweighing the other in terms of impact and influence on the conversation, and the other one trying to sustain their own legacy, history, and impact on technology that they've always had. So OEMs and carrier were not meant to talk to each other, even though they were talking to each other all the time. And so that was very fascinating, but at the same time, from a professional standpoint, potentially a little frustrating, because those projects are fascinating. You pour a lot of passion in there, but the return, the instant gratification is not a thing. So I use that experience to move back into pure SaaS worlds where I started in that space with a company selling information security stacks to enterprise companies to secure mobile devices fleets like tablets and phones. So if you had um, a wealth of sales reps on the field or technicians going out on the field and so on, you could restrict what they could do with the devices that you were paying for, and making sure that everything stayed secured. And then I moved on to in the marketing text from scratch, pretty much. When I joined, we had 5 integrations on the Typeform platform. And so 5 integrations when I joined Typeform and up to 75 when I left. Typeform is now a massive ecosystem player a few years later. So they kept growing that. Huge retention play for us at Typeform. We didn't necessarily have an acquisition problem as far as new customers go, but we saw the importance of building strong integrations ecosystem as a way to increase the value and the stickiness of the platform for our customers. So making selling up into the platform, making expansion easier, but most importantly, really putting a massive dent in churn with this. And I kind of applied the same strategy moving into Sendoso after that. Sendoso is a gifting platform, integrates with HubSpot, Salesforce, and so on. And it's basically an way to spiff your clients into showing up for a demo call and rewarding people that work well with you, congratulating a customer that just signed with you by way of automating gift sending, gift cards,
Nice.
but also physical goods, and tracking the ROI of that via Salesforce, for instance, which is also a good thing because you don't want to spend money on gifting if you can't measure that it actually impacts your pipeline positively. I moved on to Typeform a little over 2 years ago. My original premise was to do the same thing and build out the integrations ecosystem.
Mm.
And it's not really what happened. Very quickly, we realized that there was a massive, massive opportunity in building more traditional channel motions within the organization. I think my first 2 weeks at the company, I got pinged by 5 of our CSMs that were asking if we had experts on speed dial to be able to jump on a call with a customer and potentially support them as an independent consultant. Information security compliance is a challenging endeavor for small companies if you don't have bandwidth, expertise in-house, or even the knowledge of how to understand the language, the stuff that you have to do, the policies and the security controls that you have to implement in your product or in the way you run the company, then you need somebody that has that experience to help you out. And that network of people exist. We call them fractional CISOs. To an
Yeah.
extent, MSPs and MSSPs also provide the similar type of value. And so I immediately clicked on that and figured out that we actually needed to double down on this. The company, when
Yeah.
I joined, had a couple of relationships with a few of those. My first hire on the role was somebody that was initially supposed to be dedicated to enablement, so training contractors and consultants to better support our customers on the platform. Turned out to become very quickly an extremely capable partner management person, as well as internal enablement person, jack of all trade. And she pretty much built the whole program from scratch over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And we now have north of 110 partners on that program. We are signing new partners every day. Over the last 2 years, they have contributed to more than 10% of the change in AR for the company in terms of sourcing business for us, new AR. So definitely a channel that has been helping and supporting the growth of the company, but also, and most importantly, helping our customers get a much better experience and reach their goals faster.
Yeah.
And the happiest metric that I can think of when I want to brag about this program is how our customers that are being supported by one of our service and consulting partners are retaining better on the platform. They're just getting more value out of it. They're just better customers, period, for us.
So let me tell everybody. Let me sum up some things about Francois, which everybody has to understand when he's talking. You need people in your company that's support sales, right? So
Yep.
Francois, like, so many times, many people listening to this, like they might not know what an SE is, like a solution engineer or a solution architect or somebody like that. When you're an early stage company, you need these people to help you get the technical win, to work with the customer, to win the deal. So Francois has a huge background in that, right? Now he's saying like, okay, I'm and huge in telecom, huge in security, but then Francois, what I'm hearing is, then I got into partnerships. And now you're still a resource, like, but again, you're still a resource for your customer, but now you're building this whole partner channel and you're directing people to, again, to the partners who can help them, right? And that's what I want everybody to understand now. This is where I think we can capture some really amazing information. Partnerships.
Yes.
Partnerships, Francois. So let's talk about partnerships. So you've seen the value of a partner program, right? So tell everybody listening to this, what is a partnership program? What's the value of a partnership program? And then maybe when should you think about it? Like, when should you think about doing this?
Really good question. Two ways to sum this up. I think the first one is that the role of good partnerships, and I'm not talking about a partnership team because I am one of the ones that believe that partnerships is a strategy company-wide. The partnerships team is really just an enabler and an advocate for working with partners, but we cannot be the only ones working with partners. Our CSMs work with our partners, our sales team work with our partners, our product team work with our partners for that matter. And so my job and my team's job is to really make that a core part of the conversation that we're having when we talk about building pipeline, moving pipeline, and retaining customers and providing a better experience. A lot of startups usually think about partnerships as the old traditional approach to channels, meaning we need more pipeline, let's build partnerships. It's going to be quick, it's going to be cheap. One thing, yes, it's going to be cheap, but no, it's not going to be quick. And the main reason why it can't be quick is that your most valuable currency as a partnership executive is trust. You need your partners to trust you. You need to be able to trust your partners yourself. And your customers need to be able to trust the ecosystem that you're bringing together. Whether we're talking about consulting partners like the ones I was talking about, or whether we're talking about technology partners and integration partners, which is the other thing that we've been building this year at scale at Thoropass. You cannot afford to have a partner that is going to drop the ball on your customers. So it's your responsibility to vouch for every single partner, or at least vet them thoroughly, especially as a compliance platform. We cannot afford to have bad actors in our ecosystem because our job is to make sure that our customer security is airtight. We cannot be opening gaps. But the other thing that's important to understand is that the trust between the partners is what is going to actually help you create that pipeline and move that pipeline along. And those two things can coexist, can go together, but sometimes it's either or. You have trusted advisors that will talk about your solution to one of their clients, and they're going to refer them into your pipeline. And that's going to be the end of it. But at least that trust made them believe that the conversation they want to have with you is worth of their time. So they are higher qualified, probably will end up buying faster and spend more on your platform as a result, because they come with the preconception that they believe in this conversation. They didn't get roped in aggressively by an SDR.
Right.
You didn't create the demand. They had the demand and they talked to someone they trust, and that someone that they trusted brought them to you. So that trust translates to your relationship with them. When it comes to moving pipeline, which can be completely orthogonal to driving pipeline, it can be about the awareness that you have that your pipeline has overlap with some of your partners. There are platforms on the market right now. Crossbeam is probably the bread and butter of people like me. I want to absolutely be able to tell my sales team, and I want them ideally to figure it out by themselves by making those tools available to them, that every opportunity that they're working on has an attach point to some of our partners. And if that partner is already a vendor of that customer, there is already trust there that you don't have to build from scratch.
There you
Lean
go.
into this. If one of my client is an AWS customer and they have a trusted relationship with their solution architect at AWS, my job is to convince the solution architect at AWS that we are the better choice, that what we can do for the customer is going to outperform anything they can do by themselves or
Right.
with one of our competitors. That solution architect conveying that message to my customer is going to make that opportunity move through my pipeline much more efficiently in terms of time, in terms of win rate, and in terms of deal size. So those three metrics are the three ones that we track, not just from a pipeline generation, but also through a pipeline influence mechanism. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally makes sense. I mean, I just want everybody to understand where Francois' experience is partnerships, but then go to market partner, like literally how to, like if you had like a CMO who was like a leader in a go to market partnership thing, that's what Francois knows how to do. Like there's not necessarily a role that's like that, but like if your company is thinking about this, again, reach out, connect with Francois, let him know you exist, right? That sort of thing. But let's dig in a little bit more in terms of what you're doing. You said you have a team, right? So in terms of the team, like what is your, how do you look at talent, right? So what are the types of people on your team? What are you looking for? What are the core things that they need to have in order to be successful?
Great question. Depends on what role you're trying to fill, but at our stage, my team is really small, including myself. It's 3 people, and we have a detached person from marketing, so full-time partner marketer
Mhm.
that supports everything we do. So she effectively is part of the team,
Right.
whatever the reporting structure means. Um, I am looking for people that are curious. I think is one of the traits because you need to always be aware of what's going on outside of your organization. Our
Mm.
job is to foster every dollar that's non-organic.
Love it.
Our product team builds the product. Our sales team sells the product. We are everything that revolves around it that we don't build ourselves.
Right.
So curiosity is a massive trait. I'm also looking for people that are willing to not have a clearly defined role,
Mm.
that may have experience in working with partners in general. If you don't want to somebody that's starting from scratch, I have someone in my team that used to be an intern after college at the company, so very first job ever. Has been at the company for 3 years, and clicks on all of those things. Super curious, super get shit done type of attitude, like
Love it.
seeing opportunities, trying to execute on those things, growing as a fairly junior person still, a really good sense of ownership of projects. And that's another thing, right? In a startup, you need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
feel like you not only can own something, but also influence how the rest of the organization is going to play with you. And be a team player, essential, right? Again, partnership teams are not a nuclear system. We are meant to blend into the rest of the organization's workflows. We blend into how we train our sales team, how we influence the way the pipeline moves, the way we talk to our customers about the product and inject the ecosystem. We spend a lot of time talking to CSMs and bringing them options and opportunities to better serve their customers and
Mhm.
ideas to be creative about. Um, Salesy people are usually good hires in a pure channel building
Mhm.
type of role. Disillusioned salespeople probably a little better because we don't want people to be too aggressive. We want people to really think out of the box and think of the greater good, not the short-term gain.
Love it.
I've got only respect for sales teams. That's a job that I have done briefly in my past, and I could not do this on a day-to-day basis. You have to love the game. But for partnerships, you have to think long term. You cannot be bogged down by shortcomings or short time failures or step backs. You have to build something that is sustainable. You have to think creatively about what piece of the process could be improved for your
Mm.
job to be more efficient. And I need most importantly. I need people to get shit done, as I was saying, but try to really figure out ways to be more efficient with their time, because one of the strengths of partnerships is that it's the most efficient channel from a CAC perspective, and we need to stay true to that. Finance people like partnerships because they're a cheaper way to acquire customers.
Yeah.
Again, I was saying earlier, this is not everything we do, but that's usually in startups life what we are recognized or what's the easiest for us to sell ourselves as. So if we can remain cheap and efficient at building that pipeline and moving that pipeline, we're going to have a much easier conversation to do the stuff that we really want to do within the organization.
Yeah, this podcast is like chock full of like amazing information for your SaaS startup. Hope everybody's taking notes here. So, couple more questions, got a couple more minutes. So, what I want to understand is challenges. So, take it from the perspective of what have been your biggest challenges that you've dealt with. You could take from it from your career as well, like or the company, and then how did you overcome them?
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I think is going to resonate with a lot of people that have been in partnership roles is, especially in earlier stage startups, building trust within your own leadership,
Trust.
because thinking that you're going to hire someone in partnerships to have a quick fix is
Mhm.
not going to work. Um, Same thing. You need to be very assertive about, and through the hiring process, you need to be extremely transparent, because if you take the job because you want the job and you feel like you're going to figure it out after the fact, you're probably going to fall on your face. A
Right.
good example of that, if your CEO comes to you and say, you need to build the channel with GSIs, so global system integrators, and I'm hoping to get some leads in the next 2 quarters. Run for your life. You're going to get fired
Right.
anyway. There's no
Right.
point in wasting those 2 quarters. It's not going to happen. That's an extremely slow process. Those companies are massive. Those companies are really, really hard to get into as a partner, successful at that. And you're going to be
Totally.
spending full time working the channel, let alone convincing your leadership that they need to be a little bit more patient, and so on and so forth. So you're going to basically fall on your face, guaranteed. If patience is admitted and agreed upon at the early onset of your tenure in the company, then you are on a really good footing. You
Mm.
have to figure out what you can move quickly in terms of needles. And so that's why influence is actually a magical weapon, because it's very easy to create some kind of influence motion as soon as your RevOps team is supporting you and making you able to track that into your CRM.
Right.
You can show movement like, hey, we didn't create a lot of pipeline right away, but we've touched those existing opportunities and we move them. And every time we are attached to an opportunity, as you can see, the average contract value is higher, or the average win rate is higher. Those are the early metrics that you can start moving. Pipeline takes time because, again, you're creating trust from scratch.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
you need to accept this. So my biggest advice is make sure that the timeline is understood, and make sure that you're being given the resources, or at least the time of day, to speak through the organization. Because as a single partnership person, you will need the support of sales, CX, CSMs, engineering, product. If you're building an integration ecosystem, all of those people need to be in tune with what you're trying to do.
I love it, Francois. It's been a great podcast. You even answered my last question. You gave a piece of advice. It was amazing. So, everybody, again, Francois Grenier, he is the head of platform partnerships at Thoropass. Highly recommend you connect with him, right? I mean, at least get a conversation going around how you could do this, that sort of thing with partnerships. But Francois, it was great having you on. Stick around for a few minutes here. We'll debrief, but it was awesome having you on the show.
Thank you, Michael.